So welcome, guys. This is another meetup, and today we'll have Joe Obligar covering CSS animations, and we also have Louis. How do you say your last name? Louis Ambris.
That's it, buddy.
Yeah, Ambris here to answer any design. After Joe presents, he's going to answer any design questions that any of you guys may have. Well, design / HTML / really anything, because he's a full stack developer. And I myself will be kind of leading this whole thing and just chiming in if I see somebody that wants has a question or raises their hand in the participants portion of the of the meetup, or has any other full stack questions that I could lend an answer to. So, Joe, if you would like to go.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Mark.
It's all yours.
So hello, guys. My name is Joseph Albigar. I am currently a developer here at CodeStack. And today I'll be going over CSS Animation. So we won't be going over the extremely
one minute, Joe.
Yep.
We only can see the background, your background. Okay. I don't know if you're trying to share like your actual like person, or if you're just the background was what you're trying to
animate the background.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Welcome back.
All right. So, yeah, we'll be going over some pretty basic CSS animations. Won't be going too in depth too much. So, I don't know if you guys have read the meetup. Do you guys have some sort of code editor? What I'm going to be using is Visual Studio Code. If you guys have that, already, you can open it up already, and we'll get started. And first, if not, then you could actually use an online one, and I'll put it in the chat. I don't know if you guys know about this. It's Replit. It's very similar to, I would say, CodePen, but Replit also has Emmet, or pretty much the shortcut that will make our coding a lot easier and faster. So Replit also has Emmet, and but I plan to be using Visual Studio. So either one you guys can use. So first thing, let me share my screen. Second. Okay. So you guys can either go to Visual Studio Code if you guys don't have any code editors yet. But first thing I'm going to be doing, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So first thing I'm going to be doing is I will be just creating a folder. And I'm just going to call it CSS Animations. And usually what I do, it's a lot easier for me, is I create a folder and I just drag it over to Visual Studio Code, and then I'll open it up on that actual folder. I mean, there's a couple of ways to do it, but I feel like that's the most easiest way. Okay, and so this is where we're going to get started on the actual coding part. So why is it important for us to do animations in our websites? Well, it's important to the users because it lets the users know that there is some sort of function, or there's something going on important on that website. It also lets the user know that this, whatever, let's say for a hover animation, that if you hover over this button and it does something, you know that that button or that whatever you're hovering on is interactable. You also want to have it focus on whatever you want the users to be doing, but not too much, because too much animations can get the user distracted of what they actually want to do on the actual website. So animations need to be really not too exaggerated, where the animation is going to be all over the place. So it has to be just short and simple, just get the point across, but also have it in a way where the user actually notices that it's actually interactable. And it kind of gives life to the page as well. It's, you know, we're not in the 1990s anymore making websites. You know, we're in the 2000s already, and we see a lot of great websites out there. And you might not notice it, but if we saw a website from the 1990s still active today, we'd probably be like, this website kind of sucks. So it's, you know, we need to be a little bit more modern, and we need to kind of go into the current trending of what websites are today. And it also makes it look nice, you know. If you guys might not know it, or if you guys aren't from design, but pretty much each design that a designer puts in a website is not really an accident. You know, why is the button there? Why is that button a certain color? Or why is that button this big? Why is the text like that? Each one of those is kind of carefully planned by the designer to make it more pleasing to the eye. If you had a website where it's difficult to navigate, let's say we're talking about a product website where you're trying to sell something, and it's really hard for them to navigate, it's hard for them to enjoy the website. So they're pretty much going to leave the site, and they're probably not going to buy anything. Whereas if you had a website that had a really nice design, really easy to navigate through, you know, it's easier for them to actually purchase something, or maybe stay in the site and maybe they'll purchase more things. So we might not be able to think about it when we're actually navigating the site, but subconsciously we're thinking about how the website actually looks. So animations just kind of help towards that road. But we always have to remember that animation is secondary, and it should complement the site. It shouldn't be the main focus of the site. All right. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to be creating an HTML file. Okay. And here how we do that is I just right click in new file. And then I'm going to call it index.html. Okay. And I'm going to make another file, and this is going to be our style file, our CSS file. And I'm just going to name it style.css. So currently we have two files right now. And in the index, so this is pretty much, I'm going to be doing a lot of shortcuts. So if I go too fast, just make sure to tell me, and then I'll slow it down, or I'll go back. So for the HTML shortcut would be HTML5 right here. So if you have Emmet, it should automatically pop up for you. And I would choose the Emmet5 one. I just hit tab or enter, and then it'll automatically put it in for me. Next is we're going to be linking our styles into our HTML. So this is another cool shortcut that that we have here. So if you just type in link, it should give you a list of all this stuff that you can link with. So it says right here, link CSS. And if you just hit enter, it should automatically type it out for you. So we are going to be using just a little bit of Bootstrap. If you guys don't know Bootstrap, we've shown a different, we've shown different courses of Bootstrap, right, Mark? I can't really remember.
Yeah, we had a couple of courses. Let's see, Daniel went over one and Matt went over one. One was CSS, well, one was CSS Grid, and then the other one was just Bootstrap in general, I think. Just the overall Bootstrap.
Yeah, so if you guys want to learn about Bootstrap, I'm not really going to be going over it on this meetup, but we do have some videos in our YouTube channel that explains all of that. So, so if we go to the Bootstrap website, do you guys see my screen? Good. Okay, so let's get bootstrap.com, and I am going to get started. And I am going to be getting the first link over here, which is the CSS link. And I'm going to be copying that to my clipboard. And then I'm going to be going back. Let me actually make this a bit bigger so you guys can see. And I will be putting it right above the link that I just had created. Okay, I'm just going to paste it on there. And I'm just going to right click and format so that it's easier to look at. So order here is important because it kind of compiles from top to bottom first. So this will be, I'm going to be using this just for the buttons to make it, to style it a little bit easier. And so it's going to read the bootstrap and then going to read the styles. So if you had it up here, some stuff might be overridden by bootstrap from what we're going to be typing in our styles.css. So it's important that we have this in order. Okay. So once we have that linked, I'm just going to change this title to CSS Animations. Oops. Okay. All right. And then let's get started. So we're going to start by coding inside the body here. And I'm going to start by creating myself like a container. I'm not going to be using the container class though. So here's another shortcut for CSS classes. So if you want to create a class, all you have to do is put a dot and type in your class name. So for this one, our class name is going to be content. And we're going to hit enter or tab. I'll create it for us.
And if you guys aren't familiar with this, this is called Emmet. It's just kind of a CSS or a CSS HTML renderer that essentially has snippets of HTML that you can pull from, and it renders it onto your markup for you. There's a lot of little tricks to that actually that help you out with that. So look it up. It's called Emmet, E-M-M-E-T, I think. Give it a check.
Mark actually told me how to do the cooler ones. So for this one we're going to be creating our title page. So we're going to have an H1 tag with a class of title. And this is the shortcut for that. And if I hit enter, it'll create it for me. So the first thing that we're going to try to do is we're going to be moving a box. So we're going to be creating a box and moving it from left to right. Okay, so the title is going to be box and movement animation. Oh, and before I forget, so if you guys have used Visual Studio Code before, if you guys know about live server, you guys could use that. If not, then what you would have to do is go back to here, and you would have to manually click here and then constantly be refreshing for every changes that you make. But if you have live server, which isn't popping up for me right now, so let me actually redo this. No, I don't. Oh wait, there it is. So if you do have live server, you can check it out here. And if you type in live server, should be the very first one, and install this one. And you can click once you've installed that. And if it doesn't show up, then just exit and then open Visual Studio Code again. And then you can click on this Go Live button, and it will automatically serve your to localhost, and every changes that you make, it will be constantly be updating live. So you don't have to constantly be saving and then refreshing every single time you want to see the change. Okay, so right now that's all we have. So we have our title, and and let's create our content that's going to be inside. So what we're going to have is another div. And if you do Emmet, if you don't state the actual tag, like the H1 tag, it will automatically be a div tag. So we'll create another class and we'll have it as box slide, and we'll hit enter and create it for us. So it's not going to show up because we didn't actually create our box yet. So for this part, we're going to be jumping into the CSS part. Okay. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to style our body so that it kind of looks the part of our presentation. So we're going to create our body our body tag over here. And then first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to choose a font family. And I'm going to be choosing Gill Sans. So it should pop up for you. My screen is too short. Okay, next thing is I'm gonna set the height to 100% full screen. I'm gonna do a display flex, and if you guys don't know about Flexbox or how to use Flexbox Froggy or any type of Flexbox, one of our developers, Daniel, created a video about that in our HTML CSS course, which you guys would further if you'd like to see how Flexbox works. So for display, I'm going to put a flex. And then for the flex direction, I'm going to put column. Then justify content center. This is going to center everything vertically and then align items to the center. This will align things vertically to the center. And then I'm going to change the background so it's not all white. Let's do E0, E0. E0, and if we go back, it's kind of like a little gray color because we're gonna separate our content from our background so that we can actually see it.
Hey Joe,
So now that
hey Joe, I'm gonna post just let everybody know in the comment or not comments in the chat channel. I'm gonna post a link to our YouTube, so all these ones you're referring to, you guys can get to and check out if you have the time.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mark. Okay, so now we're going to be styling our content piece, which is here, right? So for our content piece, I'm going to have the background color as white. And then I'm going to have a margin to REMs. So this is if you don't specify like which margin, like margin top, left, bottom, or two REMs, and two REMs, something like that, then it's going to automatically assume that you want margin on all four sides. So top, left, bottom, or right. I just did this so we can go a little bit faster. Okay, so right now this is what it looks like. And we're also going to have a padding also on all four sides with 3 REMs, okay? Good. And then we are going to align our text. Text align. Yeah, text align. Text align. We're going to align all of our text to the center. And then we are going to we're going to say what is the width of our box, of our container, sorry. And
hey,
I'll
Joseph,
say, yes.
Sorry, can I ask a question? I think I forgot to link my style file.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we are going to be linking it up on the head.
Got it.
And if you want the shortcut, it's just link and then click on this link CSS and it'll do it for you.
I'm not getting a shortcut drop down.
Or are you using Visual Studio Code?
Yeah.
I thought it comes in pre-installed already. That's okay, I'll leave it up for a while.
Hey, Joseph, maybe you can paste it in the chat.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Try that right now.
Oh yeah, so I'll paste both links on the chat. So the first one, how do I get back to the chat?
I know when you go full screen mode, it kind of hides things.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan. Yeah, I have to hover over your screen and then it'll pop up with like your menu down at the bottom. And then you click chat.
I don't see it.
Are you trying to post your whole header tag or head tag?
Oh no, just the links. I don't know how to actually.
Send them
do
to
a
me. Send
tag.
them to me in Slack real quick. I'll
Okay.
just post it.
And then also the Bootstrap link. So,
Sorry, could I get the div class section also? I like missed that part.
I'm sorry.
Could I get the div class area also?
The div class. This one.
No, sorry, in your index file.
Index your div class dot equals content that div.
Okay. Oh, okay. So let me take this, or let me just copy the whole thing.
Yeah.
Thanks.
There
Sorry.
Oh no,
Sorry.
it's okay. It's okay. And we actually really enjoy that you're being you're like interactive, because most people just kind of sit back and let it go. And they're like, oh, we got lost.
Yeah,
Feel free to interrupt at any point in time. We actually invite that. So
yeah, we encourage that.
well, constructive interruption. So it's kind of mixed up because I posted it under some of the stuff I was writing. So I hope you guys can
I
kind of pull it out.
I didn't get a notification, so I don't know where it is.
Do you guys know how to get to the chat?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Okay. All right. So continue on and tell me if I'm going too fast.
I just need to catch up with what you wrote for content.
Okay. So
okay,
yes.
Let's give it a quick pause real quick, and I think we had, Elizabeth. Oh, hey, Elizabeth.
Hey.
Hey, it's always nice to see you or hear about you.
Running in the background.
Oh yeah, is one of them gonna do any programming today with us?
Probably not today. He had his
Oh.
construct one the other time, so.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back.
All right. And so just to explain things, I'm choosing REMs because this is a type of sizing in CSS where the R stands for root, so it's gonna be taking the main font size, or the main size of things, especially the font, on the root of the file. So pretty much, I think, is it 16 pixels is the standard. So 16 pixels is taking that from the root file, and if you don't specify what font or what size is in the root file, it's automatically gonna convert one REMs to 16 pixels. So it's gonna be throughout the whole CSS file, or any other file that you create. It's gonna be automatic that one REM is considered 16 pixels. And for this one, the width, I'm gonna put a view width. So the view width is the actual width of the viewport width of the screen of the person who's actually viewing it. So we're not doing pixels because I feel like pixels is really dependent on how many pixels there are, and not really the size of the user's viewport. So because you can have a really big screen with I don't know how many pixels versus a small screen with a little smaller pixels, and it wouldn't be the same. That's why I tend to use view width more. And let's see, and I'm just gonna add a box shadow to it, so our content pops out a bit. 0, 0, and 3 REMs on that, and RGBA. So this is like standard of how to create colors and the opacity of it. So it's going to be from 0 to 255. So to make black, it's going to be 0, 0, 0. And then on the alpha, this is the opacity or how transparent it is. So 0 being the most transparent, 1 being visible. So I'm going to do a 0.1. And if we go back, we have our box here. This isn't actually the box that we're going to be moving. It's going to be what's inside. I'm just kind of separating them out so it's easier for us to see. Okay. So with that, let's actually do our title as well. So our title, I'm going to put a margin also, 2 REMs on that, and then the font weight. It's kind of like a bold thing, and I'm just going to put a bolder on it so it's kind of sticks out. The font size, I'm going to do 3 REMs, and then the color, I mean, black is the normal color, but I'll just do black on this. It's default anyway, but so that's what it should look like. Okay. So this is for our title. And then this is where we can start creating our shapes. So first in here, we have a box slide. So this is where we're going to be sliding, or this is the box that we're going to be sliding. Okay. So for our CSS, we are going to name it the same, box slide. So I'll do box slide. And we are going to color this. You can color this however you want. But I am going to be choosing kind of like an orange color. Okay. Then we are going to create the size and the shape of it. So we're going to set the width to 9 REMs. The height to also 9 REMs. So it's a perfect square. And this is what it looks like. Let's see. Why isn't it showing up? Box. Oh, spelled it wrong. Okay. And there's our box that we're going to be animating. And so if we want it centered, I will be putting a margin on it and then having it set to auto. With that, it should auto center us the box. Okay, so that looks good. And then let's start animating our box. So when you're animating something in CSS, you need certain animation properties. The first one being the animation name, because that's going to be an indicator of which animation or which element you're going to be animating. So we're going to start by putting animation name. And then we're going to name our animation. Let's name it slide animation. And we're going to be referencing that in a bit. Okay, and then how long do you want the animation to last? So animation duration, let's say about 2 seconds. It's 2S, or you can do 2000 milliseconds. This is actually more recommended if you're going to be using JavaScript, is on the millisecond side. But since we're not, you can do either way. For this demonstration, I'll be using milliseconds. So it's 2000 milliseconds, which is 2 seconds. And let's see. And then after that, we'll do another, we will be doing a keyframe right outside the box slider class. So we'll type in keyframes. So the keyframes controls the intermediate steps in the CSS animation sequence. So pretty much what that means is you can control what happens, what animation happens during these 2 seconds. So you could say, I want this to happen during 0 seconds, and I want this to happen during 2 seconds when it's fully complete. So we do that by percentages. So I'll demonstrate that one. So after you guys type keyframes, you need to reference which animation you're going to be using. So in this case, it's going to be slide animations. So we'll just copy that and paste that in. So for this one, we want to say what it will look like when it is at 0% or 0 seconds. So in here, we'll put 0%. And when it starts, I want it to be a little on the left side because right now it's centered, right? So I want it over on the left side a bit. So we are going to be transforming this, transform and translate x, and it'll be -10 REMs. So what that means is during when it starts, on the x-axis of the actual class or of the whole HTML, I want it to start -10 REMs on the x-axis, so that's going to the left. It's not doing anything yet because we don't have a. Is it doing it yet? Yeah. So that's what it looks like right now. So it's at 0% is going to be at negative REMs, which is on the left side, and at 100%. Oops. Transform. Translate x, and we're going to be doing just regular 10 REMs. So that's what it looks like. And that's just basic animation slides. Okay. So you see how when we refresh, it just moves from, it jumps to the left and right, and then just goes back to the original position. So what we can do for that is let's first have it where if it moves, after it moves, it'll stay at that position. So in this case, it will stay on the right side and not go back in the middle. So CSS Animations has something for that, and it's called animation fill mode right here. And then we want it forwards. So what that'll do is at the end of the animation, it'll stay in the state that it's currently in. So if you refresh, it's going to be staying on the right side. It won't be going back in the middle. Okay. So let's say, what if I want our animations to, I want it to just keep going back and forth, like it's going to be on a loop. So to do that, we are going to need an animation timing function. So it's another property of animations. So animation timing, animation timing function. And then I'm going to set it to linear. So there are, I think there are 4, 5 basic ones. So currently, normally it's at ease. And there's ease in and out and out. So pretty much just ease in. It's going to be slow in the beginning and then kind of goes fast at the end. Ease in and out is slow in the beginning, fast in the middle, and slow at the end. And ease out is just slow at the end of the animation. Okay. So and linear is, there is no easing in and out. Linear. So it's just a straight movement. Constant speed. Okay. So with that, we are going to, we're going to have it go back and forth. So with this, I'm going to do another animations where once it reaches here, it's going to go back in reverse. So we want to reverse the animation. So a property for that is animation direction. So I want to reverse that direction, so it's alternate. So it's going to be going back and forth. So it's going to go forward and then backward, forward and backwards. So it's going to constantly be doing that. And since I want this to be in a loop, I want it to be an infinite count. So animation iteration count states that how many counts or how many rounds do you want this animation to run for. So we can put 1 round, we can put 2, 3, any number that you want. But in this case, we're going to put infinity. or infinite. Let's see, get rid of that. Oh, zip. Oops, not this one. Animation. Okay. So if we go back to our box, you see that our box is constantly moving, and we don't have to refresh or anything. And that is a basic, left to right infinite movement of a box. And that's it for this one. We doing good so far? Cool. And we're just trying to get into animations right now, and in the next few examples, I'm gonna be going over some more complicated ones and more not too complicated, but something that we can use more in our current website. Just want you guys to be familiar with how things move. So the next one is let's make a box spin. So what we're gonna do is, since we already have a content title defined, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna copy this in our HTML, and we are going to paste it underneath. So if we go back, there's now 2, but we're gonna be changing this in a bit. So for the title of this one, we're gonna be having it box spin movement, and we're gonna change this class to box spin. Okay, so right now it's not going to show up, but we just changed the title of it. And in this case, it's going to be very similar to what we did for the movement, but all we're going to have it doing is make the box spin around. Okay, so for the box spin, let's create another class for that, box spin. Pretty much all of these are similar to what we're gonna do on this one. So I'm just gonna copy it from the previous box slide class. Okay. And now it's just stationary. And let's change this color. So if you hover over the background color, it'll give you the whole rainbow array of all the colors that you can choose from. So let's have this, let's say blue color. Go back, it's now blue. And in order to create a circle, what we're gonna do is we're gonna flatten these corners out. So in order to do that, we need to use actually, no, this is a box, sorry. That's the next one. So we'll keep it a box. The next one's gonna be a circle. So keep it as is, and then after this, we are going to be let's start animating our box to spin. So first, like before, we're going to need an animation name, and we'll name it spin animation. And next, we'll put the duration, animation duration, and how long do we want it to spin. Let's say you want it to spin for 5 seconds. And then how fast do you want it to spin? We'll do an animation timing function as linear also. And then we want this box to constantly be spinning and not stopping at all. So we are going to do the same thing we did before, so which is an animation iteration count. And we are also going to set it to infinite. And unless you put a keyframe, it's not really going to do anything. The keyframe pretty much tells your animation what to do, or yeah, pretty much it actually gives life to the animation. So we'll put a keyframe here and use this animation name, spin animation. And for this one, we're just going to be putting 1 at 100%. So at 100%, it will transform this box and it will spin it. So we're going to rotate it 1 turn. Okay, so this is telling CSS how many times do you want it to turn. So in 5 seconds. So pretty much we want it to turn once in 5 seconds. So if we go back, we see our box spinning. And this is all spinning once in 5 seconds and then repeating itself. If we say we want it to turn 2 times in the span of 5 seconds, it's going to go a lot faster. They're going to try to catch up to it. Okay. And let's say you want to change the animation iteration count to 1. Let's refresh that. It spins the box twice because we had it on 2. But pretty much all it's doing is spinning it 2 times in the span of 5 seconds once. And that's what you can do, 2, 3, whatever, but we're doing infinite. So, and we'll change it back to 1 turn, and we have a spinning box. And that's it for that one. So pretty easy. What you can do for this one is kind of, what I've seen people do with this is kind of animate a sign that says discount, and they have that discount sign with like all the different spikes on it, and it just keeps spinning, and it kind of lets you go into the website seeing it right away that, you know, there's a discount. So there's a bunch of ways that you can use this one. Next, we will be changing the color of our shapes. So we're done with the spinning the box. So for this one, I'm going to create another copy of it again. And I'm going to change this to color change. Oops. Color change animation. And we're going to be making a circle this time. So name this also color change. So it should be another one underneath. And for this one, let's name it color change. And these also will be the same. So I'm not going to be changing these. So if we look back, it's another duplicate of what we have. We'll change the color to, let's say, red this time. Not too bright. Okay. And to make a circle, what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to smooth out these 4 corners. So in order to do that, we need to define our border radius. So border radius, and we'll say, what does 25% look like? And if you don't specify which sides you're going to do, it automatically assumes that it's on all sides. Okay. So if we do a 25% border radius, it's going to look like this. So if you continue to keep on doing it, 40 is going to eventually look like a circle. So anymore, it's not really going to read it. If you do 60%, it's not going to change the shape. 50 is enough to make it a circle. Okay. Now let's start animating it. So the animation name, let's name it color change animation. And I'll copy that already. Next one is the animation duration. How long do you want it to change color? And we'll say about 5 seconds for that. And if we leave it like that and we add our keyframe, paste our animation name. So our keyframe is going to be a little more, it's going to have more information in it. I'm going to be putting 5 different colors in our color change. So it's not going to be just 100% or 2. We're going to go through the percentages. So first, let's start off at 0%. And I want the background color to remain how it was. So I'll copy this. So at 0 seconds or 0%, it's going to have this color. And what I can do is actually just copy this 5 more times. Oops, it's 4. Yeah. So right now it's not going to be doing anything, but once we start changing these colors and these percentages, we're going to be seeing the color changes. Okay, so pretty much I just grabbed the first one and I just copied it 4 more times. For this one, we're going to have it as 25%. Next one is at 50%. Next one is 75%. And the last one is 100%. So for 25% of the animation duration, let's give it a color orange. Okay. And then we can hover over the 50% one and we'll set it to a yellowish color. That. You can do any color that you guys want. Next one is, let's make it a green color. And then 100%, it will be a blue. Okay, so we have 5 different colors at 5 different places in our animation. So now if we go back, right now it's red because it went back, the animation finished. So if we refresh, you can see that the color is starting to change. And this is in a span of 5 seconds. So if we remember on our other ones, how do we keep it in this blue color? Anybody know what I need to put on here? To keep it that blue color at the very end. Anybody know? If we go back to our previous one, we have our animation fill mode, which is going to take that last animation and keep it in that state. So we're going to be using animation fill mode. So animation fill mode, and we're going to leave it forwards. And now if we go back, it was red originally. And at the end of the animation, it stays blue and it doesn't go back to red. So that's what this property does. All right, and so now, let's see. If you guys wanted to repeat, we can do the same thing that we did here for the box slide. We can have it, we can have the animation direction as alternate and animation iteration count as infinite. So you don't have to put this in, but if you guys want to see it, you can. I just copied and pasted it. And if we go back, see that it changes and then goes back and changes back to red and then transitions back. And I'll just continue to do that over and over again. Okay, and that is what the code looks like. Everybody good?
What was it again on if you wanted it to end on blue?
If you wanted to end on the last state of that animation, so like let's say 100%, it is animation fill mode. And you want it to be forward.
Okay.
If you didn't have that, it'll go back to its original color.
Yep, that's what I was missing.
All right, good. It's working now?
Yes.
And there's another, just so that we go over all the animations, there is also another one which has an animation delay, which should be self-explanatory. And this is the delay that you want it to, how many seconds delay do you want it before it actually starts animating? So let's say 3 seconds for this one. And if we go back, let's refresh it. It's not going to change right away. It's going to wait 3 seconds before it starts changing. Right? So there's a bunch of ways that you can use that. So let's be more a little bit, since we have more practice now, let's be a little bit more practical in how we use our animations. So what another animation that we can do is a loading, like a loading animation. You've seen on websites where it says loading, right? And there's like a bunch of different loading animations to let you know that the page isn't ready yet, or they're still loading the data. So we can create that one. So instead of us continuing downwards, I'm gonna put it up here. So I'll copy this one and I'll leave it up top. And we can get rid of this div right here because I'm gonna be using that one. So let's name this loading animation. And I put it at the very top so that we can see it right away. So for this one, it's pretty simple. If you guys have been following how to do these animations, it won't be too hard for us to do. So in here, we are going to, let's add another H2 on this one. And let's see. And then let's add another class. Let's name it loading. Okay. And then here we're going to type in loading. If we go back to our site, this is what it currently looks like. So we're going to be animating this loading to give it more life, to let the users know that this page is actually loading. Okay. So now that we have all of that in our content, we can go back to our styles.css and then we can start styling it. So the first thing is we need to put our loading class in here. And then let's do a font weight. Font weight of 900. And if you look at that, it's just a little bit bolder. And let me zoom in here so we can see it better. Okay. And this is what pretty much all I'm going to be doing. You can style this however you want. Be more elaborate, more colorful. But after this one, we're going to be animating right away. So we're going to be animation. We're going to give it a name. So animation name. And then we'll name it loading. Let's keep it simple. Animation duration. We'll have it for 4 seconds. And then we also want to add our fill mode. So animation fill mode, and we'll set it to forward. So I'm just typing it in and it's popping up automatically, and I'm just hitting tab or enter. So it's efficient way of doing things. And then we want it to be an infinite iteration count. So animation iteration count, and we'll set it to infinite. And then we want the speed to be consistent. So we'll do an animation timing function, and we're going to set it to linear. So pretty much the same thing what we've been doing so far. So now where we can see the actual animation, we also need to add a keyframe. Oh wait, we have to put the loading name. Make sure you don't forget that. If you don't put the loading name after the keyframe, you won't know which animation you're talking about. So at 0%, what do we want this loading to look like? So we want to keep it the same. We don't really want to change anything. So what I want to do first is make it go in and out, like fade in and out. So for fading text in and out, we want to change the opacity. So like how we did before in our RGBA here, a 0 is fully transparent while a 1 is fully visible. And it works the same way here. So we're going to do opacity. And I'm going to set it to 1 because we want it to be visible at 0%. And I want to do this again 5 times, like how we did it here. So I'm going to be copying this %, and I'll just paste it 5 times or 4 more times. So it looks like that. Okay, and then we'll be changing this to 25. And you can do more or in between or less. So you can go from 0 to 100 right away if you don't need all that animation in between. So it's just up to you. But we're gonna do it the way that we did it up here on the color change. So 0, 25, 50, 75, and 100%. So for our opacity on the 25 and 75, I'm going to change it to 0. And what that's going to do is during the start of animation, the 0% of the animation, we're going to see it. When animation is at 25%, it's going to be gone, 50% there, and so on until 100%, and it will loop again because we had it for infinite. So if we go back and look at what our animation looks, it should look like this. Right? So it's a way for the users to know that something is loading. But let's say I wanted to add one more thing and make it look like it's pulsating, getting bigger and smaller every time it shows the loading title on there. So we can actually add another property here. And it's going to be the transform property and scale. So this is going to change the actual scaling of that text. So 1, if you put the scale as 1, that is going to be its original size. And if you put, and this is really sensitive. So let's say if you put 2, it's going to be really big. So you have to kind of be careful on what numbers you put in here. So we'll go real light and let's say 1.03, right? And let's put this on all of our percentage. So it's all of it is going to be the same size because we didn't change the size yet. Okay. Now, if we go back and we change the size, and let's say for 25, when its opacity is 0, we'll change it back to its original size. And I'm going to be doing this for all the zeros for the opacity. So whenever there is an opacity of 1, it's going to be at 1.03 scale of itself. And whenever it's 0 opacity, where it's fully transparent, it's going to be its original size. So if we look back to our code or our loading screen, now we see that it's pulsating and is going in and out. And this is a pretty cool animation that you can put on a site when something is loading and the data isn't done getting it yet. So, and that is it for all of our animations. I do have a few more that we can talk about. We can talk about hover states as well. So when we hover over a button, we can animate it to let the user know that this button is interactable or clickable. So now we're not gonna be messing with animation properties anymore, but I still consider hover states animation because it's actually animating the button itself. So what we can do is I'm going to create another content up here. So there should be 2 loadings. And then I'm going to name this button hover effects. Okay. And then I am going to get rid of this H2 tag. And this is where I'm going to be using Bootstrap to make our buttons a little easier to manage. So I'm going to have it as an element of button. And I'm going to be using the Bootstrap class of btn. And I am going to name this button 1. So this is the tag name, the element name, the class, and the class. So there's going to be 2 classes in this element. So if I hit enter, it'll give us a class of button and button 1. Okay. And its tag is a button. So if we name this button 1, let's name button 1, and we go back, we see that it's a button. So it's an actual button, but we still haven't styled it yet. So we're going to be doing that in the CSS class, but it's a working button. And on the styles, let's go all the way to the bottom and let's create our button class. So for this button class, I want to, this is going to be standard for all the buttons. So I'm going to have all of them have the background color of like a light gray. So DDD should be good enough. If we go back, that's what all of our buttons are going to look like. And I'm going to just give it a margin on all of them, 2 REMs. And since we're going to be changing the color of the text inside of the button later, we will set the color, the text of the button to be black. Oh, wait, that's not black. Okay. Okay, that's what our button looks like. So now we want to think about what we want to do with this button. So let's say if we hover over this button, it's going to change into a green color. The background is going to change to green color and the button 1 text will be white. So that is what we're going to be doing on our hover states. Okay. So we are going to be using the other class, our button 1 class on here. So, oops, not there. Button 1. And then for this first button, we need to set a transition. So we'll set a transition property and we need to define the seconds of that change, of how long you want that button to change. So let's say background color. How long do you want the background color to change when it's hovered on? So let's just do a standard 200 milliseconds because during hover states, you want the animations to be fast. If you're gonna take a while, like put 2 seconds on a hover state animation, it won't look too nice when you're actually doing it. And we can change that property or that value in a little bit so we can see what it looks like. But for the background color, I want it to change for 200 milliseconds or 0.2 seconds. And for the color, which is the black, we're going to change it to white. I'm also going to have it for 200 milliseconds. Okay. And then now we are going to be putting our button 1 hover. So this is hover is a type of pseudo class that used to define a special state of that element. So this is what will happen if we hover over button 1 or whoever has this class. Okay. So if we hover over button 1, what do we want it to look like? So we already defined our background color. So let's define our background color here. So currently our regular background color is this gray color. So we want it to change to, let's say, a green color. So let's pick a green color for here. And then that's not green. So let's make a slightly darker green. Should be good. Okay, And if we go back to our button, it should work when we hover over it. So this is in a span of 2 seconds or 0.2 seconds. If let's say you animated this for 2 seconds, it's kind of weird that it takes that long for the animation to do. So animations like hover states should be short and quick and to the point. So that's why we're doing it 0.2 seconds or 200 milliseconds. So now that's fine, but the black is kind of hard to see. It's kind of it's not really contrasting against our dark green color. So we want this color to be white when we hover over that button. So we already defined the color here. So all we have to do is on hover, we just change the color to white. And if we go back, it should change it to white. And we're good for our first button. Okay. And let's create another button. So that's all the code that we need to have that color change animation. Not too difficult. It's a bit easier than actual animations. So let's make another button. Let's copy this button and put it underneath. And let's name this button 2. So right now it's not gonna do anything because we haven't done anything to the CSS class of button 2. Okay, so now let's go back to our CSS class and let's create our button 2. Button 2. And we're gonna be doing the same thing. So we can copy this because this isn't really gonna change. So we didn't decide what we're gonna do. So let's say for this button, let's have it grow, or once you hover over it, it's gonna be bigger as an animation. So this one changes the color, but it stays the same shape. This one is gonna be getting bigger. And let's also give it a color as well. So for this one, we have the background color defined, the color defined, but now we actually have to have the sizing where it gets bigger defined. In our early animation, we did that already with this, right? So originally, if you have a scale of 1, it's the original size. And if you did a 1.03, it gets bigger than the original size by that much in scale. So we're going to be using this property here. So we're going to be adding it onto our transitions. So transform. And we're going to set this also to 200 milliseconds. Let's keep it consistent. Okay. Oh, whoops, put on the wrong one. So you want it here on our button 2. So we will be getting bigger in 0.2 seconds. So now we'll do the hover state. So button 2, hover. And then for this one, we will change the color of the background. So pretty much you want to add whatever you have here onto this hover state. So the background color. Anybody got a preferred color that they want to use?
Hot pink.
Hot pink. All right, let's do hot pink here.
I'm just joking, but yeah, let's do it. Why not?
Why not? Oh, wait, nope. I see hot pink all the way on the bottom.
Make sure it's accessible. Come on.
Oh, that I don't know if that'd be accessible. Actually, it probably would be against
it might
white.
be. We're not really doing accessibility, but it's always nice to consider.
Well, Elizabeth gets really angry when things aren't accessible, so I'm just trying.
Or if Alan is watching, make it everything red. Hi, Alan, if you're watching. Okay, so we do a hot pink. I don't know if that's hot enough. Sure, why not? And then the color, we want it to be, oops, let's type it out. Color, we want it to be white, like the one before. Nope, not Alice blue. And then we also have to include this transform on here. And we're going to be doing the same transform as we did in our previous one. So we're going to scale it up to 1.03. So scale 1.03. And that's it. If we go back to our button, this is our original button. And if we hover over this, you see that it gets bigger and our text changes to white and our background color is hot pink. So let's make this a little bit bigger so that we can see. That should be a good enough standard for a button interaction, right? So we made 2 buttons that we can use in our site. So let's make another button. This time let's name this button 3. And let's make this one, let's see, what do we want to do for this one? Let's make, when we hover over it, let's have the line spaces in each of the text. Let's make it more separate. So when we hover over this, there will be spaces in between each letter. Let's add that one. So we already created our button 3 here. So now all we have to do is style it. Button 3, and we will be keeping these 2. Okay. The background color, and we'll choose a different color for this one. The color, the text color, and then for this one, it's going to be a new property called letter spacing. So this is the spacing amount in between each letter. So letter spacing, and let's set it to 200 ms. Let's be consistent. And that's it for that one. And next is our button 3 hover. Now, for this one, we're going to include each property. So the background color, and the background, or let's do color. Color is white. Excuse me. And so for this one, background color, I don't know, let's choose, what other colors do we have? We'll do blue this time. Let's do a little bit darker blue. Okay. And now for that one, we have background color, the color, and the last property that we're going to be putting is the letter spacing. So letter spacing, and we'll do 0.1 REMs. Let's see what that one looks like. So we'll give about 0.1 REM spacing between each letter. And I think that's it. Let's go back and let's look at what our button looks like. This one is standard background change. Oops, sorry about that. This one gets bigger and the background color change. This one, oh, that one looks good. Sizing is good. So this one puts spaces in between each text or each letter of the text. It's not necessarily getting bigger, but we're just putting more spaces in the actual button. Yep, and that's good for our third button. For the last button, let's do another button. For the last button, I kind of want to do something cooler in terms of transition. So judging by the time-wise, probably this is going to be the last thing I'm going to be teaching, and then we'll turn it over to Louis for questions. Okay, so for this one, we'll name it button 4. We'll have our fourth button here. Button 1, button 2, button 3, and button 4. So for the button 4, I wanted to do a gradient. button 4. And if you guys know, gradients is just a mixture of a couple or more different colors. So in this part, we're going to be choosing 5 different colors, and we're going to be grading. It's going to be a gradient, a linear gradient for all of them. Excuse me. So let's see here. So for this one, it's going to be a little different from what we've been doing before, because on CSS, linear gradients are considered an image, so they're not really colors. So for this button, this button 4, we're going to be doing background image. And once we hit enter, we're going to see a bunch of different things that we can do for background images. For this one, we're going to be choosing a linear gradient. Okay. And we are going to be choosing 5 different colors. And you can choose any color that you want. I'm just going to be typing in the colors and any type of color. So let's do maybe a lighter blue. So 97C, 9FF. And then separate them by commas. So you can do as much colors as you want, but let's not try to be too ambitious with the colors. So I'm just going to be doing 5. So next one is kind of a lighter blue. EFF. Oops, the hashtag in front. Next one is going to be a kind of like a whiter color, but somewhat similar to blue. And this light blue is going to give an effect of the button kind of shining when you hover over it. So B5 FBF, and then 6-8 FFB4, and the last color is some sort of green, ADFF6A. So these are the 4 colors that I chose, and you guys can choose any color that you want. So if we go back to our button here, this is what our button looks like. So it's standard if you just leave it as is, the lines, the colors are going to be vertical in color. So let's change it a bit and let's put the colors in a 45-degree angle. So after this one, let's put it as 45-degree. So if we go back to our button, it's going to look like this. And it looks a lot nicer. And so this animation is going to be a bit different because it's going to be animated differently than how we've been animating it. So what we want to do is when we hover over this, it's going to be going from blue to green in the gradients. But since this button is all of our gradient colors, it's not going to be able to transition from blue to green because it's pretty much showing all of the colors. So what we do here is we're going to zoom in, and then we're going to position it on the left side. So if you imagine zooming into this color gradient, zooming in, and then going to the left side, all you're going to see is blue. And then what's going to happen is when we hover over it, the background image is going to change, is going to move from this side to the blue side to the green side. So the animation for this is pretty much the background image moving around. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so we have the color down. Now for the second part, this is the part where we're going to be zooming in. We're going to be zooming into the image. So we'll change the background size, and let's give it a 250%. And then we're going to position the background. So back, background position, and we're going to set it to the left. So this is the starting position. And if you guys remember, on the left side, it's the blue color. So if you go back, now we see it's the blue color. So once we hover over it, we're going to move over to the green color. And we're going to define that on our hover state. And what else do we need to do here? So if we look at it closely, there's this little green bleed out from the colors. And it's bleeding out. So what we can do for that is we can add a border, and we're going to set it to none, and it should be able to get rid of that. So let's do border, and let's set it to none. And if we go back, it should have gotten rid of it. So our button looks more cleaner. Okay, and the last step for this is we're going to add a property of transition. Okay, for this, for this one, we need to define which of these properties we're going to be transitioning. So out of these three, we're going to be transitioning the background size, because that's the one that's going to be moving around. Or sorry, not the background size, but the background position. So we're going to change it from the left going to the right. So we are going to be transitioning the background position. And we're going to be doing this animation in 0.3 milliseconds. Okay. And that's it. And now for the hover state. So right now it's not doing anything because we don't have the hover. For the hover state, all we're going to do is we're just going to change one value, and it's going to be this one. We're going to change this to left, and once we hover over it, button 4, hover, all we're going to do is change the background position to right. And that's it. So the background image is going to be going from the left, which is the blue. And once you hover over it, the background position will go towards the right, which is the green side of the gradient. So if we hover over it, we can see that the background is moving onto the green side. And remember this color that we put in, the kind of light white color? I added it in so it looks like the button is kind of shining when it's being hovered over on. Yep, and so that code is pretty simple for it, but it's not the standard way of how we've been animating or how we've been transitioning stuff because of the actual gradient itself. You can actually put different images if you want as well. It doesn't have to be this linear grade, but no one really puts an image behind a button. So like again, you don't want to over animate or over put too many things on like hovers or buttons, because we want the users to be able to read the button, but as well as we don't want them to get too distracted with the actual button. We want to prioritize why they're there. So with that, we have, let's go out. So we have our, we have our 4 buttons, right? Change this to green, make it bigger, change it to hot pink, separate the letters, and we did a gradient. For this one, we did our loading animations and our box movement animations. And that should be the basic of animations. There's a lot more that you can do with all of this. I just didn't want to, I actually had another one planned, but I don't think we're going to have enough time for that. Yep, so that is it on my presentation. Any other questions?
Good job, buddy.
Good job, Joe. It looked good. I'm not, I'm not like, my forte isn't in CSS or in the front end styling. So I actually learned a lot here. So it's pretty cool. Like what you could do with animations. Good stuff. So now we're going to open up the table to Louis. So Louis is here to answer any questions you guys have. It could be literally anything that has to do with programming or development. His specialties are within front end development and design and style sheets. So that's where he's going to shine. But he is also a full stack developer, so we can, and I am too, so we can ask any questions. It could be career questions. So this is your time to, get some feedback from other people and programmers in the industry. So I'll open the table up to you guys.
I also know a little bit about ramen if you have questions about that.
Is that what you're eating?
No.
Oh, I thought you were like eating ramen right now.
Gotta eat some.
Now that you said it, I actually had ramen for lunch. I made homemade.
Oh, the best kind.
I mean, it was okay. Kendall, you have any questions? If you're talking, you're on mute. Oh.
Code. So I mean, it was really good. I learned a lot too. I actually was curious because where I made some mistakes and it still worked out.
Okay.
Like on the turn where you put the 1 or 2 turn, and then I the first time didn't put turn, and it still worked without the turn. If that is like, or
it's probably the default.
Okay.
It's a one turn.
And the same with what was it where you had the transition X or something like that with the
This one?
Oh, translate X, and then I actually had it initially without the X part, just translate, and it somehow worked.
Yeah, so for this one, the default is, I'm guessing, I haven't really messed with it, but I'm guessing the default is X. But you can do a lot. You can do Y, you can do Z, you can do 3D translate, and those all do something in the X, Y, Z axis. If you guys want to mess around with it. But since we're moving it from left to right, which is vertical, we are doing it on the X-axis.
Okay.
This stuff is great. Like if you come up with a general good design, especially like for Addison coming from graphic design, adding stuff, animations and transitions will really spice it up. Although a lot of the stuff happens usually on a click or on a hover, which doesn't really work with mobile devices. But for people using a web browser, it works really well. But subtle stuff. So like on a hover, like if you had 3 cards, right? Cards meaning little divs on a website. And if you hover over one, maybe you can transition from the default state, but on the hover, you do a slight scale with the drop shadow behind it.
Yeah.
You can also animate the Z depth. So, I mean, the Z index. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but something lower on a Z index, something else will clip it if it has a higher Z index, right? So if they all have the standard Z index, which I don't remember what standard is, but you animate those 3 things, the Z index, the scale, and the drop shadow, it'll look like it literally is rising above the page. And when it grows, it can overlap the other stuff. So little stuff like that really adds a lot to a static design. So right now, Joe is showing you, he gave you a good overall showing different things, animation and stuff. And a lot of times you can use that stuff, but many times for me, it's the little subtle stuff, which really makes a design stand out. So just keep that in mind.
For sure.
Well,
no one asked that question to me. I apologize for coming.
No, for sure. I agree. Like when I'm on a website, like if there's too much stuff going on, it can kind of get like super, I guess, convoluted. But like it's like the subtle differences, the subtle movements, and like subtle animations that like just feel nice, and they just like, I don't know, as a user, it feels nice.
Yeah, it's good to know this stuff. There is also, and Joe probably knows maybe the name of these, but there's like pre-built CSS libraries, and I think even JavaScript files where they already have a bunch of stuff built in, like you just throw that class on there and it'll do something. It'll bounce or something. So you don't have to write all of it out. So that's something to look at too. But it's good to know the code. So you can write it yourself if you want to. It's not hard, or modify what they have. I'm sorry, Mark. Did you say something?
I didn't say anything. No, I was.
Oh,
nope.
You did.
so this is pretty much just pure CSS animations. We don't have to include any sort of JavaScript. But if you want those more extreme animations, then you might have to use JavaScript. But that requires more thinking and more logic, more math. So I didn't really want to get into that, and I'm not really into that stuff right now. So
CSS is powerful as it is. So what you showed them is you should never skip this and go to JavaScript.
Yeah, CSS
and
you can do a
actually-
lot more.
Yeah, and this is actually great. It comes to mind something I'm building right now that I can use at least some of the more subtle things for. So, yeah, when you have too many animations, it makes me think of you get like the MySpace animations I had back in the day, where you have everything's like sparkling. Like that would be too much.
But what Joseph taught, even with the boxes going and stuff, you did show a loading screen. You could create so many cool loading screens just off what you taught here.
Yeah,
Combining
exactly.
something animating left to right, also changing colors as it does it. You don't have to do a square shape. He showed how to do the border radius, so it's got rounded edges. This right here is the core to doing some really cool stuff.
Yeah, it was a good presentation, Joe.
Yeah, it was really good. It was good to follow along. I know in the beginning I missed out on a part, but like this is really cool. I'm definitely going to do more of these.
Yeah,
so
if a question. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just saying, if you guys missed anything or if I was going too fast, this is recorded, so you guys can go back to our YouTube page and go to this video, and then kind of pause it if you need to go back.
Yeah,
to it.
give it about a week to get the video up, because we do some editing, and we have a separate team that puts it up, so they kind of do it as the requests come in. So I'm not sure, they go work on their own schedule. So give it a week before it'll actually be up if you want to check it out. But the code will be up like right away.
Cool.
Oh, sorry, Joe. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I just said what you did.
Yeah.
So just real quick, just to show you guys what it will look like, because you have to also design the buttons, but I didn't really want to have to do all that. So if we remove the bootstrap link and we go back, this is what our buttons will look like.
Oh, that's gross.
So, so I mean, you could design it however you want, but I felt that adding bootstrap to it is just a little bit easier to design.
Back to the 90s. That was straight to the 90s with those buttons. Windows 95.
Yeah, the good old days.
Yeah, actually, 95 wasn't that bad. Got a little weird in the ME days, but
I was 5 years old.
So Addison, do you have any questions for Louis or Joseph?
I mean, right now I'm literally just like trying to get my feet wet, like, and getting my mind like back into, I guess, into coding. Like a lot of this stuff is like I was like familiar with, but like, I mean, not familiar with like that I know how to code myself, but like I remember like learning a little bit about it in school. So yeah, this is really cool. Like, I'm definitely going to join again if you guys have another session coming up. Oh,
please do. We have one every 2 weeks. I think our next one is actually not so web oriented though. So it's next one's actually going to be Unity game design. But that being said, Unity game design uses C#, which is very close, kind of has similar syntax to JavaScript. So you might be able to pull some knowledge from just doing that class as well. It'll be kind of a cool, fun class. It's going to be a two session one that one of our local instructor coordinators are doing in order to just kind of show the other realm of development. So He'll be making a simple game with a very technical engine to it. So it'll be a cool one. I highly recommend joining that too, but that's really up to you.
Yeah, no, I totally might. I might hop in. It sounds like I don't know. Yeah, sorry. I'm like also really tired right now. I had a long day.
Oh,
yeah,
no, it's all right. It's all right.
that's really cool.
Is anybody else that I don't really see? Let's see. We have Elizabeth. You have any questions or any comments you want to make?
She's hiding.
Oh, she can't be shy. She knows all of us, so
She's shy.
she's probably has the children right now. Harish, anything you want to ask?
I think that's an awesome tutorial by Joseph. So I learn a lot of things from here. I never see the animation like this. I always just like a copy or paste like thing, but now I just write myself, and
Yeah.
this is a pretty simple.
Yeah,
So
especially
Awesome.
for
I like so much, and I want join again whenever you
Yeah.
just.
Awesome.
Yeah, so follow our meetup. I announce them so I'll be announcing one next week for the coming week. And again, that would be Unity. So you guys should definitely show up again. It was nice to have you guys around. Louis, do you have anything that you might want to share with them, or any kind of parting words? Or I know we're getting a little close to the end here.
No, I would just say, pick a project that you think would help you. Try to challenge yourself a little bit to learn something new. So, Kendall, for you, it sounds like you're just trying to get back into things and see which direction you want to go. So things like this are good. You might not want to look for some other meetups or some online stuff and just give things a try. And Addison, same thing. I don't know how far you want to get into programming, if it's HTML, CSS, and JavaScript or further. But if you see some website you like, try to duplicate it, but with your own layout, stuff like that, small projects. And that's the only way I think things really stick, is when you try them,
Yeah, practice pretty much.
Yeah.
Is that a keyboard behind you, Louis?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I didn't even know you played.
Yeah, I haven't played in many years,
musical keyboard.
Yeah. I was gonna hold up my other keyboard, but I realized.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I wasn't looking at the screen when you said that.
I'm trying to get back into it. I used to write a long time ago. Hopefully.
Oh, nice.
So since Louis has nothing covered, Joe, how long would it take to show that one last thing you wanted to show?
Maybe around 50 minutes or so. If I
Another what? 50 minutes? 15 or
15?
50?
No, 15 to 20 minutes or so.
Oh, okay. Are you guys interested in seeing that last thing, or do you guys have to go?
I'm down.
All right, Joe, we'll turn it back over to you, and then you can continue.
I have to go though, but guys, have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Louis. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you so much,
Thanks.
guys.
Okay, so the last one I was thinking about is another hover state, but when we put an underline on a link. So let's say when a plain, let's say, let me create another one. Content, link. Oh, not this one. I'm doing a link, an a tag. And the title. So if we do something like this, we have this pretty boring plain link. I mean, it does the job, but we can always upgrade it to look a little better. So what I would want to do is I would want to, when we hover over this link, there would be an underline that animates through the link. And then when you take off the cursor on the link, it goes out the other way. So it comes in from the left, going up from the right. So that can be a little more complicated. Let's see how much we can get done. Okay, so let's name it link hover effect. Link hover effect. And then for that, let me add please please sign in, or if you don't have an account, sign up. Okay, so we're going to be doing 2 links here. So it should say please sign in, or if you don't have an account, sign up. So that's how it should look like. And so for these 2, we're going to put a class, and let's just have a simple class. Oops. And we'll name it link. Links. So it will be on both links. Okay. So with that is all that we need on our HTML side. Now we'll go all the way to the bottom of our CSS here. And then let's do dot links. Okay, so for the first one, we want to get rid of the original underline. So let's do text decoration, and we'll set that to none to get rid of any underlines. And we'll keep the blue color around. So let's do the color as a blue color. Pick a darker blue, something similar to it. That's right. Okay, let's just keep with this blue. And so you see that there's still an underline, but we're going to get rid of that on hover. And the thing about this one is we want to position this relatively. So position, relative, and absolute in CSS can be a really difficult topic. I mean, I had problems understanding it when I first saw it. So my main thing about this is, imagine if we right click on this and we inspect it. Okay, so in the sign in element, we see this box, right, around it. And that is the container of the element. And if you put relative on here, on this element, and in another element, which is going to be the same element, but we're going to add another pseudocode, and you put absolute, then you can position that other element that you're going to put anywhere inside this container, because it is relative to the absolute property. So let me just show you guys. So we're going to do another links, and we're going to do another pseudocode, and it's after. So the after pseudocode is all it's saying is that we are going to be inserting a content, some sort of content, after every link class. So in this case, after would need a content, some sort of content. And in this case, we're just going to have an empty quote, and this is going to be making the underline for us. Okay. And so then once we have the content, we are going to position this absolute. So that means it's gonna, what position absolute is, it's practically taking it out of, how do I explain this? Taking it out of the documentation flow. It's still in the HTML, but pretty much it's ignoring everything else, like how the document flow is. So I'll show you how that works in a bit. So we're gonna position this on the position left, or left is 0, and then bottom is 0, because we are going to be putting it on the very bottom. So we're gonna have the underline on the bottom, and we're gonna have it start on the left side. Okay, and this is 0 because it is pretty much on the very bottom of this element. So if you put a left 0, it's gonna be all the way on the left. And if you put bottom 0, it's all the way gonna be on the bottom. Okay, so now with that, we want to determine how long the underline will be and how big or how tall it will be. So we'll do the width of the underline as 100%. And then let's do the height at 0.1 REMs. Not gonna show up yet because we don't have the hover. Okay, so I'm just gonna be typing in some stuff here, kind of cover over it. And so we want the same color. We want the underline to be the same color as the text. See, and it's starting to show up. And then we want to transform this, and we want to do the whole scaling of it to scale X to 0. And so this is going to be the starting position of it on the x-axis, which is a 0. And then we're going to transform origin on the right side. So originally it will be on the right side. So after it'll hover, it will go towards the right side. So that transform origin, and then the transition would be the transform that we have. Transform, and this will be 200 milliseconds, and it will have an ease in effect. Oops. Spelling. Okay, so let me add the second part so that I can talk about it. Links, hover, and then after, and then we are going to be transforming the scale X to 1, and then we're going to transform the origin to left. Text replace transform. Okay. So with this, for the scale one, the starting position will be on the further left side. And when we hover over this link, it will originally be on the left side going to the right. So let me show you how that works. So if we hover over this, links, hover after, let me see. Transform origin. Am I missing something? Transform. transform scale X to 1, transform origin to left. There is one REM. See, our links is position relative. This is position absolute. Let's add a text decorator to get rid of it. A hover. I feel like I'm missing something. Transform. Transition. Scale X. MS. Hold on 1 second. I feel like I'm missing something here. See, the one that I sent to Louis. Sorry guys, let me see what I put. Maybe it was transition origin. Yeah, it's transition origin, not transform. Transition origin. No, it is transform. Transform origin, transform transition, transform. Let me copy what I did. There we go. I don't know what's the difference. Let me back up a bit.
Hey, Joseph, I actually have to go,
Yeah.
but thank you so much.
Okay.
This is really cool.
No problem. All right, bye, Addison.
Bye, Addison.
So-
Thanks for coming. Catch the video online.
Okay, so I don't know what the difference is. But anyway, this is the code for that. So pretty much we are generating a line. We created a line right here, and we are starting it on the left side. Its actual origin is on the right side. So when we hover over it, it will be going towards the origin will be on the left side going towards the right side. And the transformation will be in 2 seconds and ease in. And let's see, yeah, so this is the final product of what it actually looks. So it comes in from the left side and it goes out the right side. So this is kind of like adding more animations to something simple like a hover on like a simple link like this. You can do a bunch of different animations where I even thought about doing on a button where if we hover over the button, there is a box going around the button. or there's a bunch of different effects that you can do. But for this link, this is pretty much all the animation there is. So something simple, not too over the top. And yeah, that's it for that one. And we went over just shy 6 minutes.
Wow, nice. So Joseph, any advanced link if you want to learn something in an animation advanced level, like any
Advanced level.
tutorial or
So W3 Schools has a lot of them. So
okay.
CSS Animations. So there's that whole stuff, and it tells you all the keyframes. But there is one for hover. Let me see, CSS hover, I believe. Forgot which site it was. But what I can do is I can gather up all the resources that I know of. And if you join our Slack, Mark, can you paste the Slack link on the chat?
Yeah, 1 second. The join the Slack link or the... I'll just do the join the Slack link. I got it.
Okay. And I'll be...
Yeah, you can send me a Slack link. I will join.
Oh, you have Slack, right? Okay. Forgot to ask. Yeah, so if Mark will send you the link, and once you join, I'll send all my resources there, and we'll have all the codes up on our GitHub, and you guys can download that as well.
So you guys are working on as a full stack developer.
Yes, currently me and Mark are full stack developers.
Okay. Because I'm front end developer. Just I'm writing a code in Angular.
Okay, we do Angular too.
Yeah.
So if you have, we might do Angular courses in the future. We might do some Angular courses in the future if you're interested. Mark will be posting them up. But we don't think that Angular would be a good time right now, because what we've been doing is we've been doing a lot of basic, just some basic tutorials, not really the more complicated ones, because I feel like Angular is a bit more in the intermediate to advanced in learning wise. And it's hard to actually create something in 2 hours while teaching somebody. So, but we might do, what we were thinking of is doing different sessions. So maybe an intro to Angular, and then the next session will be something more advanced in Angular. But we can't really teach it in 2 hours. But if you're interested,
but we can just put a topic like a NGRX, so it's completed in 2 hours.
okay. Yeah, we were actually thinking about doing a class regarding NGRX. So would you be interested in that?
Yeah, sure. Because I'm just almost I have a 5 years experience on these technologies like a PHP, WordPress, Node, and Angular.
Okay.
So
yeah, sure.
if anything I have chance to learn, so I'm open for it anytime.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Yeah, we were actually thinking about doing NGRX in sometime in the future. So if you just join our meetups, and you'll get constant reminders of what what kind of classes that we're doing. So if you just join our meetups, you'll probably get a notification regarding NGRX, because we did plan on doing NGRX in the future, or in
Okay,
more
sure.
Angular based stuff. So yeah, if you're interested, and just make sure to join our Slack, because that's where we can ask, our community can ask questions if we need to.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. Any other
So
questions?
Yeah. Have you any GitHub channel, or have you any open source project where we can learn more things, like a
Yeah,
more?
so um, our YouTube channel has a lot of stuff that something similar to this meetup. We post
No,
a lot of
I
different
just want to
topics.
contribute there or something like.
Oh, you want to contribute?
Yeah, exactly. Because I also like to contribute. If any have a good any good project.
Okay. We we'll probably send the link to our GitHub because I'm gonna be posting my this session this code into our GitHub. So if you're interested, we'll be putting that link in our CodeStack channel or in our Meetup CodeStack channel. So just did Mark send you the link?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so just join that one, and we'll be posting our GitHub or the GitHub that where I'm going to be putting this project in, and we have other different projects there too. So feel free.
Okay.
And if you have any questions, just message us on that on Slack.
Sure. But where I can get us lecture, and I think uh or you can send me a Git link I can find there.
The thing is, Mark's computer died, and I don't have the link with me right now.
Okay.
So he manages all that. So
Okay. So next time when we are when we are just meet, then I can just get a link.
yeah, our next meetup will be on October 1st. So if you want to join that one,
So about
feel
this
free.
meetup,
I'm sorry.
what we make on this meetup?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
I'm saying what we will create on this meetup. Like this meetup is
Oh,
regarding animations.
the following meetup, you mean?
Yeah.
I believe that one is Unity. They're going to be creating a Unity game. So it's coded
Okay.
in C#. So if you're interested, and it's C# is the logic is fairly similar to JavaScript as well. There's just a few syntax differences, but if you've been doing a lot of JavaScript, or if you like how you said you were doing TypeScript or Angular, there's very similar to TypeScript as well.
Okay.
So
Then
it
then I
shouldn't be
don't
too
have
hard.
issue.
Yeah. So October 1st, that is when we're going to be doing our Unity meetup. So feel free to join.
Yeah,
And you can
sure.
ask questions there. And we'll be starting same time. We started at 6 p.m. here on Pacific time. I
Okay.
think we have the same time, but day and night, right?
No. Yeah.
So it should
Just a
be
half
8.
an hour difference with day and night.
Okay, so what, 8:30 a.m. or around that time?
No, now 8:44
Oh, 8:44. Okay, so yeah.
a.m.
So we will start if it's 8:44, 5:30 a.m. That's kind of early for you. I don't know if it is, but
No. I don't have,
5:30.
because I'm working in a night shift. Just like
Oh,
I'm
okay.
working on a Snapcheck. So it's a
Okay.
US fintech startup. So
Okay. Oh,
they
it
can
works out then.
suggest me. Yeah.
Okay. It works out then. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 5:30 for you, October 1st. Same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, no problem.
So
Any other
now I can
questions?
leave. No.
Yeah.
I just, you have any question, you just ask me. I don't have issue.
Okay. No, I think I'm good as well. So if there is no other questions, thank you guys for coming, and I'll be ending the Zoom call. All right. See you guys. Have a great day.